All righty, here we go on a Friday. It is time for your Berkshire Hathaway Biweekly podcast. Yeah, she's back. Realty expert Katlyn Soli. We're going to talk with her right after this.
Real estate can feel a lot like this, but you should expect more when you're buying or selling a home. You should feel taken care of by someone who can turn jitters into someone with the tools and knowledge to help you find the one or sell yours.
We'll take it.
Someone who can make real estate feel less like that and more like this. That's Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway Home Services.
All right, and she is back in the studio. Here we go, realty expert Katlyn Soli, and I might as well give you another round of applause because that's what we love to do. Friday. Big plans for the weekend or not?
I just have some work to do.
No
with
way.
some sellers, get their home ready to sell. So, yeah.
So when you do like an open house, I know a lot of those are on the weekends because people aren't working that day, but is there a lot of work for you to prepare for an open house, or usually you just gotta hope the homeowners have got their poop in a group?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's not too much work on my end. I kind of have my system down, but usually on Thursday is when I will schedule all of my open houses, run ads, put up the open house sign. So I kind of get ready in that way. And then if I'm doing an open house for another listing agent's home, I just hope that they communicate, tell them to get the home cleaned.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if it's a vacant home, I don't have any worries about it.
Okay, now you guys as realty experts, you don't just show houses and say, okay, sold, thank you, nice job, nice to meet you. You guys are a resource for a billion things, and especially now for first-time home buyers, there's a lot of helpful resources out there, but they're not going to know about any of this stuff until they reach out to you realty experts first. Is that right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and I like to say that I specialize with first-time home buyers just because I do so much work with them. They're my favorite. I think part of my teacher background in me is I love educating, and first-time home buyers are the perfect people to educate on the process. And there are so many resources out there that I didn't even know about when I purchased my first home. So I always like to preach about these because a lot of buyers, younger ones especially right now with like house affordability and everything, they need some help because a lot of things are just so unaffordable right now.
And you know, when you say just unaffordable, a lot of these things, these people might think they're overwhelming.
Yes.
And really, a lot of the times with the right resources, you might find out differently.
Exactly. Yeah. And one of the most popular resources that I always like to share with my buyers who are just starting the process, maybe they don't have a lender yet, is the North Dakota and Minnesota first-time homebuyer programs. These are amazing, and it's a resource out there that you have to qualify based off of your income, but a lot of first-time home buyers qualify for this, and it's a really good way that these programs have assistance that'll help cover down payment. So that's really nice for buyers because they have to save up for closing costs and down payment, and if you can get some assistance on that, that helps a lot.
Right. I mean, that could be the make it or break it for a lot of first-time home buyers is that down payment. And things like that, and the closing costs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And the nice thing with these programs is the interest rate is usually lower than like your standard 30-year fixed conventional rates.
Okay.
Which is really nice too, because having a lower interest rate is going to help overall.
Okay. Now, with these first-time home buyer programs, is that almost always a 30-year mortgage on that, or are they flexible with that too? Could you go 15, but then you probably wouldn't need to use the first-time home buyers?
Yeah, normally it's 30.
Okay.
So
yep. Well, that's kind of the norm, isn't it?
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Normally that's how it is. And I have the numbers on here. So for the conventional North Dakota first-time home buyer rates right now is 5.7%. And then if you do FHA for the first-time homebuyer program, it's 5.4. So that's significantly better than the standard 30-year fixed conventional.
Okay, and what are we at now? Like 6?
It's like mid 6%.
Okay,
right now,
so that every point makes a big difference.
It's almost like a whole percent lower.
Sure,
so that's awesome for first-time homebuyers. Another resource that I'll mention to buyers is that there's mortgage calculators out there that can help buyers figure out what they want to pay and what they can afford for a home. But usually I don't send them to these calculators right away. I'm sending them to a lender.
Okay.
And these calculators are on lenders' websites. But I always like to say, if you get in contact with a lender first, they're going to be able to run all of these numbers. They can factor in home insurance and property taxes and everything like that, so that they can get you exactly your monthly payment that you're going to be comfortable paying. From there, then we say, if this is the payment you want, this is the price you should be looking at.
Okay, I'm sure we've done probably hundreds of these Berkshire Hathaway biweekly podcasts now, and I thought I was learning a lot. It's the first time I've ever heard the word mortgage calculator.
Yep.
I didn't know there was such a thing. So you would recommend go to a lender first.
Yep.
Find out what you're going to be okayed for, and then you have to decide, am I going to need a little help on this or not? And then maybe go to the mortgage calculator to see how maybe they could tweak things, or how does that work?
Yeah, exactly. And so a lot of people, if they don't have a lender yet, they'll find these mortgage calculators and they think they know what they want to spend based off of what the knowledge they have. But oftentimes, once they start talking to a lender and they figure out all these different programs that are offered, or if you do this, then this is what your payment is, and if you do this,
Sure,
this is what it is. So that's why I always direct them to a lender first. But the mortgage calculators are out there, which is also a good way to start. But I always say talk to a lender first, because they have so many tips and tricks to help you.
And I used to be that kind of guy that you think you know everything,
Yeah, you
but you
wanna do it
probably
on your
don't.
own.
Right. And I was horrible at reading instructions. I'm to the point now where I would just go, and if I was to talk to you, Katlyn, I would say, I don't know anything about anything. Please help me.
Yeah.
And I read instructions now too. But wouldn't you rather have it that way, that to just listen to what I've got to say, just sit down and shut up and listen to me? No, I mean, but
Yep.
that's why you guys are the experts.
Exactly. Yep. We just want to help out any way that we can. So another one that a lot of buyers don't know about is, so they think that you have to put 20% down on a home, which is not true. I'm just going to throw that out there. And they think a lot of times that they're going to have to go conventional. If you do not qualify for the North Dakota first-time home buyer program, conventional is a good way to go if you want to buy a home that needs a lot of work put into it, because FHA, VA, and USDA financing has a lot more safety hazards in a home that it would not qualify if you're looking for like a fixer-upper home. But I always like to say, if you're going to be looking for a home that's in pretty good condition, FHA is a really good way to go too, because the down payment is lower versus conventional. So
Yeah, because if you're talking 20% down and you've got a $200,000 house, you're talking 40 grand. That's not easy for a lot of people to come up with.
no, it's really unrealistic. And that's why I always say, you'll see in news headlines and everything like 20% is standard. It is not. It's
Right.
more so like 3 to 5%.
Yeah, I was going to
So-
say, how can anybody afford
No, that's
that?
crazy. 20% down is only if you want to get rid of your private mortgage insurance
Sure,
right away.
okay.
So most people do not put 20% down on a home.
Yeah, and what that does, it just you got less of a payment, of a
Yep.
mortgage payment.
Yep, exactly.
But a lot of people don't realize too, and these were all things I found out after my house was paid off, was your insurance and things like that. You kind of take that for granted because it's all part of your mortgage.
Yep.
Your insurance, what else is there? Taxes, all that kind of stuff. It's not really a pleasant surprise when it comes time, and it's like, wait a minute, we never had to worry about that before.
Right.
But you know what? That's not a bad problem to have either.
Right. Yep. And lenders help with all of that. So, because that's the thing, is a lot of buyers don't realize that the mortgage payment isn't just the house payment. It
Yeah.
has the insurance in it and property taxes, which is fun to see when you can see exactly what you're paying on a house versus insurance and taxes. Majority of the payment is actually insurance and taxes,
Yeah.
not so much the house.
Right,
So-
right.
Okay, another one is home buyer consultations. So with any new buyer, I like to set up an in-person meeting or a Zoom meeting so that we can go over the entire process of purchasing a home, ask any questions, and just go over some of these resources and tips, which is amazing because if you're going to be purchasing a home for your first time, you want to know everything up front, have all the answers to your questions and everything like that. And it's a really good way to get to know your realtor, since
Yeah.
we're going to be working together
Right.
for who knows how long. So I love doing those. And then, the last one I had on here was to have a real estate agent working with you, which is pretty obvious, but some people, like I said, think that they can do it all themselves, and then they end up running into so many issues.
You know, I have had this conversation with many people, especially after starting doing these podcasts with you guys about people that want to sell on their own. I've heard the horror stories from people and where they have said, I should have listened to somebody. I had these people telling me, every once in a while, you might get lucky. Somebody might come up to you and say, hey, I'll give you this right now, cash, and boom, boom, boom. But that doesn't happen very often.
Right.
Now, you did kind of catch me here when you talk about the home buyer consultations, if it's a Zoom or what. But how important is it for you on that first time meeting these prospective clients? Because, well, just to let them know you're human.
Yep.
You're human. You're here to help them. I'm a realty expert, but how important is that first consultation?
I think it's huge. I know me personally, relationships are what I strive for, building those and having really strong relationships with my clients. And I think being able to meet in person, sometimes over Zoom if they're out of state, just goes so far. And, you know, you can text and have phone calls and stuff. It's just not the same as being face to face, getting to like have a face on your realtor, everything like that. So it's huge, and it's super low pressure. I know a lot of buyers are like, "Oh gosh, I have to go meet with
all
a realtor."
nervy and everything. Yeah.
It's so fun. It's a fun time. So
and
don't be nervous about
talking
it.
to people from Berkshire, a lot of you guys end up being friends with
Yes.
your clients.
Yep.
You guys aren't out to screw anybody. You're here.
Yep.
Some of these people, it's the biggest investment they're ever going to make in their life.
Exactly.
And Katlyn Soli ain't going nowhere.
Absolutely.
You
No,
know, if
I'm not.
you got a beep, she's right here. She's not nothing to hide,
No,
and none of you do.
I work 24/7 for my clients. They get the premium service with me. So
That's awesome.
Yep. And then I was going to throw out some tips as well for first-time home buyers that maybe they don't know about. Is the first one we talk a lot on here is getting pre-approved. Some buyers will come pre-qualified, and there is a difference between that. Pre-qualification is just an estimation on, yep, you're going to be able to buy a home.
Yep.
Pre-approval, lenders go way more in depth with your finances and give you an actual solid number, and then we know that's more legit than just a pre-qual.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
another one on here says look beyond the purchase price. This one I like to stress to my buyers, because if they're just looking at the purchase price, oftentimes we go look at the home and the home needs a lot of work, for example. And then I have to mention, you know, you're going to have home insurance, your property taxes. If it's in an area that has HOA fees, this is going to also be a monthly fee added onto their mortgage payment. So we like to say, don't just obsess over the purchase price. We need to get a whole picture. Are we going to need to put many costly repairs into the home? Things like that.
Can you afford to live
Exactly.
after you buy the home?
Yep.
Yeah.
I get a lot of first-time home buyers who get very excited if we look at a home at the top of their budget versus the lower end of their budget, because obviously the condition is going to be a huge difference. But if they're shopping at that high end, you know, we want to point out all these other costs so that they're not married to their house and that they're actually going to be able to enjoy living there.
How many times have you met with a first-time buyer and you've told them, you know, you don't have to have 20% down, and they kind of go, whoa?
Yeah, they get really excited.
I mean, that's got to make, I mean,
Yep.
that's a game breaker.
Yeah, another one that happens a lot is, you know, they want to shop at the high end. We'll go look at a couple of homes, but once we start running numbers, they'll come back to me and they're like, ooh, I think we need to go down.
Yeah,
and
you
I'm
gotta-
like, thank you.
Got to be realistic,
Yeah,
too.
I don't want you to have to move in a year, so thank you
Yeah.
for listening.
All right.
And then another one, too, is during the home consultation, we'll talk about ways that we can write an offer and negotiate. And a lot of buyers don't really know that we can negotiate on offers more than just the price. You can negotiate home repairs, seller concessions. If they're not offering commission, we can negotiate that. There's so much we can do. And ultimately, it's just to have our buyer's interest in mind. And we want to do the most we can to make sure that you're getting a really good deal.
What a helpful show today. Speaking of helpful resources for first-time home buyers, the first step is to get a hold of realty expert Katlyn Soli, and how do they do that?
My number is 320-267-6692. Call or text me anytime. I always have my phone on me. I'm on all social media, and I do have clients reach out to me through there. And then I'm on the Berkshire Hathaway website as well. So don't be a stranger.
Righty. Awesome. You have yourself a wonderful weekend.
Thanks, you too.
And we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good.
There you go. Katlyn Soli, your realty expert. That's your Friday edition of your Berkshire Hathaway bi-weekly podcast. We'll be back again on Wednesday with another one. Till then, have yourself a great weekend, everybody.